plateau is a flat-top tableland. Plateaus occur in every continent and take up a third of the Earth's land. They are one of the four major landforms, along with mountains, plains, and hills. Plateaus, like mountains, may be young or old. The Deccan Plateau in India is one of the oldest plateaus. Valleys form when river water cuts through the plateau. The Columbia Plateau, between the Cascade and Rocky Mountains in the northwestern United States, is cut through by the Columbia River. Sometimes a plateau is so eroded that it is broken up into smaller raised sections called outlier plateaus. Many outlier plateaus are composed of very old, dense rock formations. Iron ore and coal often are found in plateau outliers. Plateaus are very useful because they are rich in mineral deposits. As a result, many of the mining areas in the world are located in the plateau areas. Tectonic plateaus are formed from processes that create mountain ranges. Volcanism, like the Deccan Plateau crustal shortening, which is the thrusting of one block of crust over another, and folding, as seen in Tibet, and thermal expansion, like the Ethiopian highlands. So thermal expansion of the lithosphere means the replacement of cold mantle lithosphere by hot asthenosphere. Those caused by thermal expansion of the lithosphere are usually associated with hot spots. The Yellowstone Plateau in the United States, the Massif Central in France, and the Ethiopian Plateau in Africa are prominent examples. When the lithosphere underlying a broad area is heated rapidly, for example by an upwelling of hot material in the underlying asthenosphere, the consequent warming and thermal expansion of the uppermost mantle causes an uplift of the overlying surface. The high plateaus of East Africa and Ethiopia were formed this way. A third type of plateau can form where extensive lava flows, called flood basalts or traps, and volcanic ash bury pre-existing terrain. This is exemplified by the Columbia Plateau in the northwestern United States, the Deccan Traps of peninsular India, the Laurentian Plateau, or the Canadian Shield, and the Siberian Traps of Russia. Volcanic plateaus are commonly associated with eruptions that occurred during the Cenozoic or Mesozoic eras. Eruptions on the scale needed to produce volcanic plateaus are rare, and none seems to have taken place in recent times. The volcanism involved in such situations is commonly associated with hotspots. The lavas and ash are generally carried long distances from their sources, so that the topography is not dominated by volcanoes or volcanic centers. The thickness of the volcanic rock can be tens to even hundreds of meters, and the top surface of flood basalts is typically very flat, but often with sharply incised canyons and valleys. The volcanic eruptions that produce lava plateaus tend to be associated with hotspots. For example, the basalts of the Deccan Traps, which cover the Deccan Plateau in India, were erupted 60 to 65 million years ago when India lay in the southern hemisphere, probably over the same hotspot that presently underlies the volcanic island of Reunion. In North America, the Columbia River basalts may have been ejected over the same hotspot that underlies the Yellowstone area today. Lava plateaus of the scale of those three are not common features on Earth. Some plateaus, like the Colorado Plateau, the Ordos Plateau in northern China, or the East African highlands, do not seem to be related to hotspots or to vigorous upwelling in the asthenosphere, but appear to be underlain by unusually hot material. The reason for localized heating beneath such areas is poorly understood, and thus an explanation for the distribution of plateaus of that type is not known. There are some plateaus whose origin is not known. Those of the Iberian Peninsula and north-central Mexico exhibit a topography that is largely high and relatively flat. There are two kinds of plateaus: dissected plateaus and volcanic plateaus. A dissected plateau forms as a result of upward movement in the Earth's crust. The uplift is caused by the slow collision of tectonic plates. The Colorado Plateau in the western United States, the Tibetan Plateau, and others are examples. A volcanic plateau is formed by numerous small volcanic eruptions that slowly build up over time, forming a plateau from the resulting lava flows. The Columbia Plateau in the northwestern United States of America and the Deccan Traps are two such plateaus. Intermontane plateaus are the highest in the world, bordered by mountains. The Tibetan Plateau is one such plateau. Continental plateaus are bordered on all sides by plains or seas forming away from mountains.